You're running out of time. You need to have kids now or it'll be too late. That is the message that one of my patients heard from everyone, her doctor, her family, even strangers who felt entitled to comment on her 36-year-old childless status. The pressure was so intense she was considering settling for the wrong partner just to beat some imaginary biological clock. Hi, I'm Dr. Omatma, the holistic fertility doctor. Today, I'm giving you my honest answer about when to have kids, one that's based on individual circumstances, not fear-based myths about age. Because here's what I've learned after helping thousands of women. The right time isn't determined by the number on your birth certificate. It's determined by creating the optimal conditions for both conception and having a healthy human and raising a child. This information is educational only, not medical advice because I'm a doctor, but I'm not your personal doctor. The question, when should I have kids, has become loaded with anxiety, pressure, and honestly misinformation. We're told that there's a fertility cliff at 35. There's a separate video on this. Make sure to find that video and watch it if you're wondering what's going on with the latest and greatest research on the fertility cliff. But that's besides the point. At 35, we're considered geriatric pregnancy, and after that, waiting means we're being irresponsible with our reproductive futures. But here's what this narrative misses. Every woman's fertility journey is unique. Every woman's journey into motherhood is unique. Your biological age, your overall health, stress levels, and even your life circumstances matter far more than some arbitrary age cutoff that society has created for us. I've seen 42-year-olds conceive naturally on their first try and 28-year-olds who have struggled with fertility issues. So I've worked with women in a variety of ages between 25 and 45, and there are just so many things that I could tell you about from these experiences. The real question isn't always, am I too old? It's how can I create the best possible conditions for conception, pregnancy, and motherhood when the time is right for me? And this important question is the one that I personally struggled with and is the reason why I got into fertility work in the first place. Today, I'm sharing a framework that honors both your biological reality and your personal circumstances, because you deserve to make this decision from a place of empowerment, not fear. Let's start by dismantling the biggest myth on reproductive health, that 35 is some magical fertility deadline. This arbitrary cutoff has created unnecessary panic and rush decisions for countless women. The truth is, while fertility does change with age, it's not a dramatic cliff like you've been told to fear. Research shows that among women 35 to 39, there's only a 3% decline from the counterparts 25 to 29. So that's really a small decline between the age groups of 25 and 29 versus 35 and 39. More importantly, the studies are consistently showing that overall health markers are more predictive of fertility outcomes than age alone. I've seen this in my practice repeatedly. Women in their late 30s, early 40s who have optimized their health often have better fertility outcomes than younger women who don't address their poor lifestyle habits, chronic stress, or underlying health concerns. Your biological age is determined by cellular health, your mitochondrial function, stress levels, nutrition, lifestyle, all of which impact your epigenetics, all of which are impacting your hormones and the direct outcome of your fertility tries. All of this matters way more than your chronological age. So let's differentiate between biological age and chronological age. And the truth is, you can test your biological age. There are companies like Clockwise. I will link them below. Not my company. I'm not affiliated in any way. But they can help you determine your biological age instead of going off of your chronological age. We also do this assessment in our practice It's relatively easy to do. And I have found personally that at 44, my age is 10 years younger biologically than chronologically. So I feel pretty good about all of the lifestyle things that I do in order to support my health, well-being, and age in reverse. The beautiful thing about biological age, it is largely within your control. This doesn't mean age doesn't matter at all, but it means that age is just one factor in a very complex equation, and it's not the most important one. Here are the real factors to consider. This is the framework that I use with our clients. The most important question isn't how old am I, but how healthy am I? Your body's ability to conceive, carry a pregnancy, and recover postpartum depends far more on your overall health than your actual age. So let's consider some of these factors. Do you have stable energy throughout the day, or do you find yourself dipping, or you wake up with low energy and then you're okay, or crashing early in the evening? All of those are signs that something is out of whack. How about your cycles? Are they regular and relatively symptom-free? I know that we've been told that pain, PMS, cramps, and mood disorders are all normal with cycles. However, I'm here to tell you that that's not actually normal. Common does not mean the same thing as normal. Your normal or optimal is where you have symptom-free cycles that are regular in time, meaning you menstruate every 28 days or every 25 days. Whatever your regular is that true? Is it consistent? Or are your cycles shifting like 40 days, then 26 days, then 30 days? If you're all over the map, that is a problem. If you have symptoms like PMS, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, mood swings, hot flashes, night sweats, you name it, there's a whole host of symptoms. If you are having symptoms with your menstrual cycle, there is probably something that is out of whack. Next, do you handle stress well and recover quickly from illness? If not, that is a sign. Are you free from chronic health conditions or not? Things like Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism. Often I find that when it comes to thyroid, a lot of people are on medications, but their thyroid is not actually functioning any better than it was without that medication. So it's really important to have an assessment that looks at your functional health. How does your body function rather than what does it look like on normal lab tests? That is not what we're looking at. We're looking at functional and optimal. Just remember that. Functional and optimal. Are the things that should be happening in your body happening? Or are you struggling with something that you don't know or understand? For example, I have a patient from long ago who was dealing with chronic Lyme disease. She told me again and again that it was well managed. And when I did my assessment, I said, you know what, you may have well managed your Lyme disease, but there are some co-infections that are happening that are still affecting your ability to stay pregnant. She had had 3 miscarriages. So when we started working with her, we really had to address those underlying factors, fix her gut health, and finally her hormone health before I gave her the green light to get pregnant. And sure enough, 3 months later, she did get pregnant and she stayed pregnant and had a healthy baby. So it's really important to remember that if you have chronic underlying health issues, sometimes you may not have any symptoms of those things, but if they are happening and not addressed or managed properly, you can still have an impact on your fertility because your body does not feel safe. If you want to know more about the safety fertility connection, watch my TEDx talk. It's linked in the description below. Do you feel strong and vital in your body? Sometimes there's just a feeling of unwell that a lot of people will describe that doesn't really fit into any box. You may go to your doctor or your OBGYN and say, hey, something feels off. And you know intuitively that something is off, but your doctor cannot put words to that, and nor can they help figure out what is happening. So if that's your case, then there are some things that you should probably work on. If you answered yes to most of these questions, your body is likely ready for pregnancy regardless of your age. But if not, you have the opportunity to optimize your health first, which is not only going to benefit your fertility, whether it's right now or for the future, but also your overall health and well-being. You can feel good in your body all the time. It's okay to feel good. And the truth is that most of us should feel good, but a lot of what we write off is, oh, it's because of my age. Oh, I'm just getting old. That is not true. Fertility isn't about biology. It's about creating the right environment for having and raising a child. So it's also important to consider, what's your relationship status? Do you have a supportive partner who's ready to be a parent, or are you going to be a solo parent? And there's no right answer here, but being honest about your situation will help you plan appropriately. Also, how's your financial stability? While you don't need to be wealthy to have a child, you certainly need to have basic financial security, reducing your stress, and providing stability for your family. So it's important to know these things and to know if there is instability that is also creating a lack of safety in your body and will often affect your fertility. So that is going to be important to consider. And again, if you want to know about safety and fertility, watch my TEDx video. Are you in a place where you can take time for pregnancy, birth, and early motherhood? Sometimes careers are more flexible while others are not, and the timing can matter quite a bit. Do you have a support system of family, friends, and community that are going to help you raise this child? Raising a child really, truly does take a village, and having the support makes an enormous difference. Next, let's get into your fertility goals. Let's be honest about how many children do you hope to have? How important is it for you to conceive naturally versus using assisted reproduction? Are you open to alternative paths to motherhood, like adoption? How much time and energy are you willing to invest in fertility optimization? If you want multiple children, starting earlier gives you more time. If you're open to various paths to parenthood, you may have some more flexibility. If natural conception is super important to you, optimizing your health becomes crucial regardless of what age you are. All of these factors are extremely important to consider as you create your optimal fertility plan. Now, stress levels and mental health. This is often overlooked, but it's so important. Chronic stress, anxiety, depression, all of the things that we experience can significantly impact fertility. If you're in a high stress life phase, addressing that first might be the most important thing rather than rushing to conceive. Let me give you an example. I just talked to a 28-year-old several weeks ago, and that couple, they're both about 28 and 29, and the husband is part of the Air Force. And he is actively in duty, meaning he gets deployed almost every month. And the amount of stress that creates for this woman who's trying to conceive is extremely high. She sees him as her entire support system. She had a very rough childhood that had already created lots of stress in her body. Her cortisol levels were a flat line at the bottom of the curve, and she has him as really her only support. And every time he gets deployed, she is stressing out that she might lose her partner, her support system, her person in this world. That level of stress and anxiety is affecting every level of her life. There is going to be no way for her to conceive when she's feeling that degree of stress. Not to mention, she has no capacity because her cortisol was flatlined. So It's really important to understand that in the context of your body, high stress life phases can really deter your ability to conceive. And there are so many studies that back up the connection between stress and reproductive hormones, stress and fertility outcomes, stress and IVF outcomes. There are infinite numbers of studies on this. And what I find is super important is, how do we create stress resilience? How do we create a body that feels safe regardless of the environment that it is put in? So those are the things that we're going to be working on with this couple if they continue working with us, to help support them in their stressors and shifting the dynamic to where she can feel safe, she can create some new support systems, and can get to that goal that she has for motherhood sooner rather than later. Mental and emotional health during pregnancy and early motherhood is crucial for you and your baby. Taking the time to address the stress, heal from trauma, and stabilize mental health is an investment in your entire family's well-being. The way that you set yourself up prior to conception, the way that your partner is also contributing prior to conception, is going to have a huge impact on the future health of your baby. Once you have assessed all of these factors, the next step is creating the best possible conditions for conception. The beautiful thing is that these strategies can work at any age. So you can optimize your physical health using nutrition. My go-to is a nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory rich diet that is high in protein that support hormone production, healthy fats for brain development and hormone balance, antioxidants for cellular and mitochondrial function, and making sure that you're getting adequate calories to support reproductive function. In terms of movement, regular, moderate exercise will support fertility. Don't go overboard because that can suppress reproductive hormones. So find that sweet spot that makes you feel strong and energized, but not depleted. If you feel depleted after your workouts, you need to consider restructuring or reorganizing so that you don't feel depleted. Next, sleep. Quality sleep is crucial for hormone production and mitochondrial repair. So aim for 7 to 9 hours of restorative sleep every single night. Ideally, you should wake up rested in the morning. That is a sign that you got adequate, high-quality sleep over the course of the night. Next, addressing your stress. Stress resilience is the biggest fertility factor. Chronic stress is going to disrupt your fertility. Hands down, it's going to have a huge impact. So developing sustainable stress resilience practices like meditation, yoga, or counseling can be great ways to help manage the stress, and then helping to shift your mental, emotional, spiritual state out of someone who gets easily stressed to someone who can feel like they've got it covered is the goal. And then after you've done all of the foundational things, you can target your supplementation based on your individual needs. Supplements like folate, omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin D, and CoQ10 for the right person can support fertility and pregnancy health. It's really important to individualize this because I know there's a lot of information on which supplements you should take for your fertility. I have found that it's super important to target this nutritional supplementation to what your actual needs are. And I created an assessment called the Smart Fertility Analysis exactly for this reason. You can find it linked below. Environmental factors to help reduce exposure to endocrine disruptors by choosing organic foods when possible, using glass instead of plastic wherever possible, and selecting more naturally oriented personal care products. This does not mean organic personal care products. It just means natural. You need to be able to read the ingredients list. And if you want our guide on this, we do have a Diva's Detox guide that can help support you in finding the right products that will work for your body. Now, let's talk about optimizing emotional and mental health. Addressing underlying trauma, especially unresolved trauma, that can impact fertility and pregnancy. You want to work with someone who can help support you in releasing that trauma out of your body. In my experience, therapy is not necessarily the most beneficial thing here. It's actually releasing that trauma out of your body. So things like EMDR therapy or integrative family systems, there's a bunch of different modalities that you can pull from. Or for our clients, we use a mind-body approach that helps to clear the things out of your body so that the traumas don't stay stuck and the energy doesn't block your conception energy. You also want to build a support network, cultivating relationships with people who support where your stage of life right now and who understand and can help you navigate what you're going through, be supportive, and you can also support them. That's a good relationship to cultivate, and it's really important, especially in our times where I feel like relationships are devalued and people are so busy that they don't necessarily make time for cultivating relationships. It's really important to form those partnerships, relationships now. Developing healthy coping strategies for pregnancy and parenthood is a good thing. Of course, there will be challenges as you navigate this, and having healthy coping mechanisms will serve you well. I also see a lot of perfectionism, type A-ness in the fertility world, and it's so important to practice self-compassion in these places. This skill becomes more important as you grow into parenthood. So this is not something to ignore. Let's start practicing it now. And last but not least, planning your financial future. While you don't need to have it all figured out, having basic financial stability and practical support will help to reduce the stress. So, when should you actually start trying? Here's my honest recommendation. If you're under 35, you have the time to optimize your health if you need it. Spend 3 to 6 months addressing any underlying health issues or factors that are maybe even undiscovered. Reduce your stress and prepare your body. This investment of 3 to 6 months will pay dividends for both your fertility, your pregnancy, and your postpartum health. If you're in the 35 to 40 range, you still have time, but you have to be intentional about the optimization. You want to consider comprehensive fertility testing sooner rather than later, and identify any issues that might come up as early as possible. So you can still spend 3 to 6 months optimizing your fertility, but you have to be extremely targeted and extremely intentional about how you approach this. It is really easy to spin your wheels and not get anywhere or not move your fertility forward. So make sure that you're getting the right support in this time period. If you're over 40, you absolutely must get a team of practitioners who understand both the holistic approach and the conventional approach. Consider more intensive fertility optimization while you're pursuing the more conventional fertility therapies such as IVF. Don't let age necessarily discourage you, but you definitely want to make moves and you want to have the right team around you to get you to the goal as quickly as possible. So regardless of your age, if you have known health issues, irregular cycles, or other fertility concerns, so important to get proactive about addressing these things rather than hoping and waiting. The 3-month rule. Since eggs take about 90 days to develop, any health optimization that you do affects your eggs that you will ovulate 3 months from now. This means you're never too late to start improving your fertility. So there are a few things that I would do if I was going to apply this framework to my own life today. Step 1, do an honest self-assessment. evaluate your overall health, your life circumstances, and your goals. If you need support with this, I highly recommend clicking the link in the description for Madre Fertility. It is a free analysis tool that I've created to help you identify the root causes of potential fertility struggles. Even if you haven't started trying, you can use this assessment to know if there's anything happening under the surface that could affect you in your future fertility goals. Identify the areas that need attention, and we'll even come up with a plan for you to address those things. So consider what your assessment is and what you're going to do to help get you to the goal. Number 2 is to create that optimization plan. If you need additional support from qualified practitioners, you can do that. But if you just need to shift your diet, lifestyle, and nutrition, you can do that via Madre Fertility for free. So implement your lifestyle changes sooner rather than later so that you can help optimize your fertility quickly. And build your support network and prepare financially and practically. Next, set your timeline. Based on your assessment, decide how long is this going to take to optimize your body, and decide when you're going to be ready to start trying. Allow the time for optimization if it's needed, and then be flexible and adjust as circumstances change. Last but not least, make sure you're tracking and monitoring. If you're trying to conceive, track your cycles, monitor your health markers, and make sure that you do that fertility assessment about every 3 months so that you can see if there's progress being made or if you need additional support sooner rather than later. Here are the red flags to seek help sooner rather than later: irregular or absent periods, known fertility issues, chronic health conditions, history of pregnancy loss, male partner factors or suspected male partner factors. Remember, there's no perfect time to have children. Life will always have challenges and uncertainties. The goal is to create the best possible conditions within your unique circumstances. So the question, when should I have kids, doesn't have a universal answer because every woman's situation is unique. Your fertility journey isn't determined by some arbitrary age cutoff or societal pressures. It's determined by your individual health, your circumstances, and your goals. The client that I mentioned at the beginning decided to take a different approach. Instead of rushing into parenthood out of fear, she spent 6 months optimizing her health, addressing her stress levels, building the life that she wanted to bring this child into. And guess what? At 38, she met her partner, got pregnant, and had a healthy baby. She now has a healthy toddler and feels confident about her life choices. The most important thing you can do is make decisions from a place of empowerment rather than fear. Whether you're choosing to have children at 25, 35, or 45, focus on creating the optimal conditions for conception, pregnancy, and motherhood. Your body has incredible wisdom and the capacity for healing and optimization. With the right support, most women can significantly improve fertility potential regardless of age. So, trust yourself to know what's right for you and your life. Seek support when you need it. And remember that your worth as a woman is not determined by when or how you became a mother. It's determined by living authentically and making choices that align with your values and circumstances. If you found this perspective helpful, please share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And remember, I've created a free fertility assessment called the Smart Fertility Analysis at madrefertility.com so that you can get your individualized analysis, and it will even help you create a personalized plan if you choose to do so. That link is in the description. And as always, if you found this video useful, please give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, do all the things, because your support means that I continue creating the amazing content that I create just for you. Your fertility journey is yours to write. Make it a story of empowerment and not fear. Until next time, this is Dr. Amatma, the holistic fertility doctor, reminding you that the right time is when you're ready, not when society tells you to be ready. See you next time. Peace.